There are seekers who believe that awakening is always a cycle of remembering and forgetting, even if just for a moment. I understand. I've been in that position, in that period where I believe that this is how things are supposed to be. That even just for a moment when you get triggered, you forget your own being. You forget the truth of what you are, which is infinite, eternal awareness. But the truth is that there comes a time where this recognition of yourself lands more, deeper. Awareness sinks deeper into itself. And that is the third stage of awakening, where there is no longer a separation between yourself and your experience. And that means there's no forgetting anymore, because anything that you experience as yourself. There is always this knowing that I am this, that which I am experiencing. So no separation. That means forgetting is not possible anymore. I just wanted to jump in real quick to share this insight that came after I recorded the actual video. I think that the belief that we are still going to forget no matter what while in this life, it comes from the fact that we believe that because we are confined to a finite body, we are bound to forget. But the truth is, the ultimate truth is, there is no finite body. The body that we perceive as a body is no solid matter that is a separate part from consciousness itself, from your true self, from your truth. You are always infinite awareness. And when you reach that final stage where the separation collapses, there is no separate self to forget anymore. There's just only the living truth of yourself as the presence of awareness. So forgetting is no longer possible. And it's difficult to describe how this is experienced on a daily basis in your actual activities, but it is just this acute awareness of yourself as boundless, as larger or beyond the body and the mind or the happening of this moment. It's just this awareness of an empty space. You feel and experience yourself as an empty space. Not necessarily very specifically as you go about your day, but if you just go back to yourself to be in awareness of yourself, you experience yourself as an empty space. So it's like a walking empty space, so to speak, when you refer to yourself. So if you are still in the stage where you feel that you lose your sense of self as awareness itself, that is just a stage in the realization process. And if you want to find out what stage are you at, to be clear, you can go ahead and take a look at the video that I've made about the stages of awakening. But basically, you just check in your own experience. The first stage is, I recognize myself as the witnessing awareness, as the one to which everything arises. So in this stage of realizing your true nature, you recognize that I am the one aware of all of my experience, be that inner experience or outer experience. Ultimately, there's no inner and outer, because all there is awareness. Everything arises in awareness as well. So the first stage is everything arises to me, to awareness. The second stage is everything arises in me, in myself, as the field of awareness within which everything is known. And that is stage 2. And stage 3 is where this separation between myself and my experience collapses, subject-object relationship collapses, and I recognize that I am my experience. And this is not a conceptual recognition, it is a lived experience. That is how you know yourself, you experience yourself. And in that stage, there is no longer forgetting. It's just not possible, because everything you experience, you recognize as yourself. It's just, as I said, a feeling that lands more fully. And that happens when awareness, the light of awareness, the presence of awareness is grounded, it is rooted, it is occupying all of the corners of your being, so to speak. So that means that you've done enough healing, enough integrating those parts of yourself that were still holding separation beliefs, those wounds and limiting beliefs. So you've healed enough of those layers of separation that this awareness lands more fully or deeper, that I am infinite awareness, and then you no longer forget. It's just not possible anymore. You no longer identify at all with whatever experience you are experiencing or with yourself as a body-mind. It's just, as I said, an empty space that you know yourself to be. So I hope this brings more clarity to those of you who are wondering about this. And I just want also to add another element to the last video that I made about how to stabilize your awakening. And this is the element that I did forget to mention in the video, is that one thing that will help you stabilize your awakening more profoundly, more tangibly, is to investigate, to explore your own nature. And the way that you do that is by asking questions. When you are abiding as the presence of awareness, knowingly being infinite eternal awareness, you go ahead and investigate, study your own nature. And you ask yourself questions like, am I finite? Am I bound by time or space? Was I ever born? Will I ever die? Do I feel infinite? Is there any limit to my being? Can I ever be agitated? Is there any lack? And you allow your own experience of yourself as the presence of awareness to inform, to respond to this question. So you experience the answer. You get the answers from your own experience of yourself. And the more you investigate, you study yourself, the more you know yourself, right? And the more this sense of you being infinite, eternal awareness is going to land within your mental, emotional, and so-called physical structures. Knowing yourself truly means knowing your infinite, eternal nature experientially. And in the same way that you study anything else that you want to know, you study your own being in order to know it, to really know it, to really know it through direct experience. So besides all the elements that I mentioned in the video, also include this. When you are knowingly being the presence of awareness, the I am presence, investigate your own nature. Go deeper into the knowing of yourself. Investigate your ever-presence, your infiniteness, your eternal nature. Feel that you are not bound by time or space. And this is one way to actually make sure, because I know from myself and from the students that I'm working with that this question often arises: I am not sure if I'm actually experiencing my true self, my infinite being. And the way to check is to literally go to your own experience of yourself and check, do I feel limited? If you feel limited in any way, then you're not experiencing your true nature. It's just in your head, in your mind. The experience of yourself is as an infinite awareness, infinite field of awareness, if you will. It's not even infinite, it's a-dimensional. It doesn't have any dimensions, but we experience it as infinite, as boundless, as opposed to the confinement of the body and the mind that we are used to as the self. So these are just some very specific ways in which you can understand where you are at, what stage of realizing your infinite nature, and how to actually stabilize your awakening. Here at Seekers Academy, we're all about faster, deeper, stabilized awakening. And what you discover here is how to really live behind the seeking, the fumbling, the guessworking, the putting the things together, trying to piece the path together to make sense, to have experienced palpable progress in your awakening journey, to really know how to master your emotional healing so you are no longer devastated by the triggers, by the pain, the suffering that comes up, to be recognized so that you no longer get overwhelmed by the stress of the whole path of awakening and exhausted because you feel that you're not getting anywhere, because you feel that nothing is ever enough, because you feel that something is still missing, even after all those years and the work and the effort that you put in. This is what you leave behind when you come into the Seekers Academy containers, the 1 year deep dive or the one-on-one 8 weeks intensive, where you receive all the necessary and sufficient element, the highest techniques that you need and the simplest ones that are truly applicable to your day-to-day life, to your everyday, every moment of life, so that you can ground this awakening so you no longer lose it, so to speak. You never lost it, it's always there. We just lose sight of it, we overlook the presence of our own being. So that's what we're learning, how to get past those layers of conditioning and know our true nature and live our infinite nature. This is what this is all about. This is what awakening is about. Awakening to our infinite nature and living as that. And it is a challenge to understand how can you live as infinite awareness in apparently confined by a finite body. That's where we have to reconcile the mind that doesn't comprehend how that is possible and our direct experience of ourselves. The more awareness sinks deeper and deeper into itself. Of course, each stage in itself is an unfolding. It is a deepening in itself. It feels as if when you've deepened enough in one of the stages, the floor collapses and you find yourself in the next stage. So after you've fully realized everything arises to me, you will find yourself landing in the recognition, in the knowing that everything actually that arises to me is actually arising in me. And that is the second stage. But this whole process is just so beautiful and mysterious and thrilling. The more clarity you have about your own experience and the more clarity you have about how to go, how to walk this journey of awakening with the utmost clarity so that you can have the utmost efficiency. No more fluff, no more detours, no more wasting time with things that don't work or in detours and techniques that don't really help the deepening of your awakening, but it just helps you develop horizontally. This is about depth, Transformation happens through depth. As I said in the previous video, you need to dig a hole in the same place in order to reach the depth. And what we're doing here at Seekers Academy with this, the Aware program, is a new way of awakening, is a new, faster, deeper, stabilized way of awakening. It is a direct way. It is the most effective way, the smartest, the most intelligent way that you can go about your awakening process, because we have all the elements together that you need. And in order to understand what I mean by that, please watch the next video that I'm going to do about all the elements that we need in order to have a smooth, clear awakening pathway, so that every week we feel a deepening, a sacred progression. That's how it should work. We no longer have to seek. Those times are gone. Self-realization can begin with the first step, which is directly experiencing your infinite being already in the first call. That's what we're doing. No more seeking. Seeking is over. You don't need to seek for yourself, because you already are that which you seek. You already are yourself. So I hope this brought more clarity. Let me know in the comments how this landed with you. What is your experience on your awakening path, your experience of yourself right now? What is the stage that you find yourself in? What is the challenges that you are facing? What is your biggest struggle on your awakening path? I would love to hear from you. I will read every comment and respond if the case. And I'm very much looking forward to having you here. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share if you find this video useful, so that we can just spread it to other seekers. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video. Remember, you don't need more information. You need clarity and direction. And you don't need more tools. You need the right tools in order to land your awakening and to stabilize it, instead of spending that time seeking.